What's going on, guys? Welcome to my channel for new battle report. So I subscribed to a new UB tournament. The French community is organizing some tournament on Discord, and I've never done one of those before. It's a solo tournament. Basically, you have first group phase where you are facing two opponents, and then the first one of the group will be qualified for the knockout stage afterwards. So this is the first game of the tournament. I was paired in a group with a UD and a Sylvan Elves player. So first playing against Undying Dynasties, Velux, a guy that I knew before, so I was really happy to play against him because we never faced each other before in tournament, but we already drank some things, some alcohol drinks during tournament together, so it was really cool to face him for UB game. This is my list. Couple of small changes in comparison to the last one I posted, but I think the concept is still similar. I like to have a lot of threats, everything able to combat more or less. So I still have my general on a Great Bull of Shamut, Master Occultism, with MR2, Great Weapon, Magical Heirloom. The magical setup, I changed it a little bit. I wanted something a bit cheaper to adjust a little bit the combat threat that I'm able to feature in a special selection. That's why I went for the cheap Adept Pyromancy Vassal Conjurer, who is also the Scroll Caddy. And I decided, since I have no alchemy, to feature Magical Heirloom just to be able to get these flammable token, and also hereditaries. Almost always helpful, so I was happy to get this additional spell on the Prophet. Then my BSB, I kept the same build, so 2 up, 5 attack, strength 6 with spread weapon. I like the fact, obviously it's not the best defensive setup that you can get to 1 up, 4 up, but I like the fact that he has some decent damage output with 5 attacks, strength 6, good offensive skill. This helps a little bit to increase the damage output of the unit, so quite happy about him. Also, it's easier to move him alone because you have a bit more attacks, so you're a bit more reliable to block stuff sometimes. So I'm pretty happy about this build. Then my core setup, I kept my 2 units of Vassal as Chaff, Banner of Rangers Company, and 2 times Ziggurat Regular. Really happy about this core setup. 5 Anointed, Infernal Weapon Shield, that will sometimes feature, include the Commissioner for the Bodyguard rule. Then we have 5 Incarnate with the Champion. Yeah, I didn't want to have too much exposure to war machines, and I like the fact that I have all this large model in the special section with storms, grinding attack for Incarnate, some flaming attack as well. So I have a good amount of threats, quite mobile, that can face also bigger unit. And I only have 1 large target in the Instrument of Destruction. I think I have to have 1 at least to protect the Great Bull of Shamut in some matchup to be able to hide behind. So I went for the engine with the big base, Steel Juggernaut. This helps to hide better the Great Bull of Shamut, and also I like the fact that it can shoot and it's also decent in combat. Also helpful with the Unbreakable rule. And then yeah, a couple of units. So I have these 2 units can face bigger unit, and this one is more like a support unit that can do some combination. I like also the fact that it can be a wall for the BSB as well. So basically against War Machine I can always run them together, alone, and then just put my Commissioner behind the unit of 3 or the Incarnate. I have some options, because sometimes if you are behind the big unit of Anointed, you are really far behind because of the base of the Anointed that is quite big. So this is my list. So a lot of threats, relying on the Vassal Levies to do some chaffing, and testing the small Conjurer on foot, cheap version, to have the Adept Pyromancy. I also like the fact, I think I struggle with my list in some matchup. If I think about elite infantry, fast hitting, I think I struggle a little bit against this kind of target, and that's why I wanted to include the Nafta Thrower and the combination with Adept Pyromancy, because between Occultism and Pyromancy I can guess 4 to 5 not too hard to cast damage spell. Thinking about Pentagram, Breast Weapon, and then 2 blasts from Pyro, you have 4 pretty cheap to cast spell that can do some damage against those units that are not so well protected usually. And then I also have the Nafta thrower that helps immensely against this kind of target, but it's a bit more short range. So that's about my list. The list I was facing, I also put some description because I did my homework. I like to do some preparation before the games when I have the occasion to do it. So he's playing what is becoming more and more familiar in the UD list. Basically, it's a Pharaoh cowboy on a skeletal horse. I think more and more UD list featuring this guy because for the point you pay is pretty good actually with the God Slayer. Obviously very good against my army because you get multi-wound 2 divine attack against conditional aegis, and basically with Infernal armor I have that everywhere almost, so he's really good against me. Then he has double mage, master, Cosmo, adept, evo with +2 to cast. This is really strong because sometimes you struggle to heal your unit, and the Book of Arcane Mastery I think help immensely to control a little bit that difficulty sometimes to cast spell and if you want to heal. Obviously a Tomb Architect, Scroll Caddy as well, 45 skeleton with parry, just here to play on the static res and the fact that they are going to pin you down for a couple of combat turn. 15 skeleton cav. I saw them as a potential unit for him. And then 2 units of skeleton, probably to fill the character in the backfield. 5 scout skeleton as chaff. 3 sand scorpion that are also going to play as chaff or ambush threats to threaten the backline of the opponent. And then the main combat force of this army list is 2 units of Shaptis with Albert. So 3 attack, agility 3, strength 6 per model, which is not bad at all. Lot of health point. I think the UD at the moment, they really shine if you play on larger, at least that's where I think they can shine. You have either you go for like list with triple sphinx that are sometimes hard to handle, especially in team tournament, could be interesting because it's a problem for the pairing, or you go for a larger unit with a lot of health point because then you can really play on the health, how you can say, the fact that you can raise model in combat with your spell. So I think that's how UD work quite good at the moment. I saw a lot of tournament lists with large unit. In this tournament you roll randomly at the beginning of the battles. So we rolled map 3, which is a frontline clash, and then we rolled for the scenario and we got hold the ground. For my spell selection, so my reasoning was Flaming Sword, really interesting because he has the regen, so really happy to get that one. And then I went for 2d6, always good to remove Scorpion and Scout and also do some damage on Shapti, so definitely not bad. And then for Occultism, so I got Magical Heirloom. I wanted to have the Ward Save because I thought I might have some combat. Rot Within was also very interesting because if I can cast one maybe on the Shapti, then between Rot Within and Hereditary, I can make sure that my Incarnate might hit on 3+, which is a huge difference. Also making maybe the Shapti hitting me on 4+ on the Incarnate. So yeah, couple of due to the weapon skill of our units, I think there are some good tricks. So I thought Rot Within might be really helpful. Pentagram, always helpful to do some small damage and also to heal the bull. And then I went with Gravecoil just for the case that the Pharaoh, if he wants to go alone, I want to be ready to punish him. So that was just as more of a measure to tell him, if you go out alone within 26, be aware that I can cast a Gravecoil and you can die easily. So that's just the idea sometimes of Gravecoil on the Great Bull. If you are not sure that you are going to cast it during the battle, it's likely that you are sometimes not going to use it because of the range 12. It's not easy to go within 12 without getting charged by something else, but just the threat of it is sometimes really helpful. And then Cosmology for my opponent, so he took +2 -2 offensive, +1 -1 strength, Ice and Fire, and then the Ward Save or the solo hit strength 3, and Evo he went with double reroll. Matchup analysis, I think pretty much nothing in my list can fight the Pharaoh. I have too much Aegis, and that's a bit problematic. Obviously, his unit, if he's going into the cavalry, it can be a liability for him. So I think to be effective, he need at some point to go out of the unit. And at this point, I could be able to threat him with Gravecall. And or my flaming divine breast weapon on the bull, which is also great against him. I think I want to play second. I wanted to play second because I want to see, basically, if you think about the ambush, the triple scorpion, playing second would mean I will only play one turn before I'm likely to see 2 to 3 scorpion. Which is nice, because if I play first, I will already play 2 turns, I will most likely be slightly more advanced in the battlefield, and then his chaffing of the scorpion is more likely to matter. So that was a little bit my thought process about going second, and also obviously get the right matchup, see where the Pharaoh goes, maybe avoid that my BSB get annoyed by the Pharaoh, stuff like that. I think I have good responses to Shapti. The Nafta thrower in short range is obviously a big threat, so if he comes within movement 6+9, he's in great danger to get a lot of casualties from the Nafta thrower tank 5 multiple wound. The Incarnate are also really good against Shapti because I'm striking first, but due to the fact that he has large unit, I cannot go alone with Incarnate because basically I would kill like 2 to 3 Shaptis, then he strike back, do a lot, and kill me on the next round. So I need to get combo charge and get some magical buff to help me. The Anointed also not bad at all against the Shaptis, but yeah, strength 6 is annoying for me. The UD has no range damage, mostly, has some small, he has Ice and Fire and the strength 3 hit, so yeah, it's not a problem for me to take a little bit of time before engaging my combat. I need to pick carefully the combat I want to engage in, and first of all I need to clean the chaff to ensure I can get these juicy combo charge that I need to really destroy a unit of Shapti in one go and avoid the healing process and counter charge and stuff. I think the big block of Skellies is also quite annoying because it can lock me in combat for many turns, so I think I need to get my Infernal Warrior to fight them, because basically with the number of attack and static res that I have, I should be fine. It will last a little bit, but basically it's not a bad matchup for me. And when the combat starts, at some point, I think I need to use the fly of the bull to be able to threaten a little bit the bunker. Because with the magical support, it's really hard to fight his army. But if I can find a way to threaten a little bit the bunker and maybe shut down the magic, then it could really change completely the fact that I will maybe have difficulties at the beginning to face the Shapti. And I'm quite likely to feel at least at some point BSB alone, because I think I have to play on the superior amount of threats. I have more threats than him, more combat threats. His threats are basically Pharaoh alone or in the cavalry bus, and then 2 units of Shaptis. That's mostly his combat threats. I have much more things to do. I have double anointed, incarnate, tank, bull, BSB. I have a lot of stuff that can threat him. So I have to use that to play at different places of the board, basically to cause him trouble and to force him to make choices that could lead to mistakes. So this is deployment. It was quite interesting because first of all, I won the roll for the side, and I was really happy about that because the south part is definitely way better than the top part because of the house. So I gave him top, I took bottom, and then he told me you can start to deploy, meaning he doesn't want to start the game. We know that sometimes undead, they don't like to start the game. They prefer to play second. In this case, I just started to put one after the other. I started with the vassal, then as soon as I saw the big block in the middle, I put some warriors, and then the anointed on the right, and then after a while he had just 1 or 2 left. I decided to drop the remaining things just to get a little +1, and I told him if I win I will make you start. I just waited until the moment that I saw the cavalry bus as well, just to make sure that if I put anointed on the left, they are not going to face nothing, and took a lot of time to go towards the center. But what I liked about this deployment is the fact, due to the house, he cannot put a lot of strength on this part of the older ground, meaning that I should be able with my game plan to come aggressively here. So he put the cavalry boss here, the big boss of Skellies, skeleton scout, bunker, unit of archer with the pharaoh, 2 units of Shaptis, 3 anointed, incarnate, the tank, first vassal, warrior, BSB, great bull, vassal with the mage, and second unit of anointed with infernal weapon and shield. So basically the big decision for him was he had 2 options: either put the pharaoh here or put it here on the left. That's the choice I gave him by splitting a little bit my forces. If you see, my main combat threat are on this part of the board. You have BSB, great bull, and Torque anointed infernal weapon. And then you have some space, and then on the right part of the board you have Incarnate, Anointed, and Tank. So basically, are you confident enough to let me face you with these 3 units against possibly a unit of Shapti and Chaffing the second? Or do you want some support? And that's the choice he made. He put the Pharaoh on this part. Problem is, if you put the Pharaoh on this part, this leaves me with... I'm going to overwhelm him on the left part of the board. And so basically, obviously he will try to push on this flank. I will try to push on this flank. So it will be interesting. His turn 1, so I won the roll like a 2, plus 1, it's 3, and he rolled a 1. So I made him start the game. He advanced carefully. That's why I also positioned the tank that way. It's just basically to threaten him off the short range, a bigger short range, because I can turn around, win like 2 inch, then move 6, and then shoot short range. So this moves my short range from 15 to 17 probably, most likely. So that's why he went carefully outside of my short range, which is exactly the purpose of this positioning of the tank. So I was quite happy about that. He moved also carefully with the Pharaoh within the bunker at the moment, just to avoid getting targeted by magic early on. And here on the left, he didn't move much, actually. The middle also as well. So that's also a good indication that you made a good deployment, because if your opponent doesn't move much on his turn 1, that's a good indication that you are blocking him quite well with your deployment. In the magic, he hadn't much to do because basically he has mostly combat buff. The 2 things he had was Ice and Fire and hit strength 3 on everybody on the unit. So he tried to put the strength 3 hit on everybody here. I dispelled that, and then I let Ice and Fire go. He killed 2 vassals, so not too bad for me. And it was also able to get a reroll to hit, I guess, on them, but that doesn't matter because I won't charge, obviously. My turn 1. So I start to move from the left to the right. Obviously I let him, he could be able to move out of arc, but I don't care, to be honest with you, because the purpose of the Anointed is really to push toward the center as soon as possible. He could go around me. I always have ways to react to that. I can either move the BSB, turn around the unit, use the bull. I have some solutions, and I decided it was not worth it to make sure that I can charge with them, because if I charge here on my turn 2, I kill them, then what do? Turn 3, I turn around, I move 12, I'm here. I will lose too much time. So I was thinking that's not worth it. And here on the right, I just make sure at the moment I'm quite far away from him. I just slide it slightly to the left, so you can see really my idea was to starting to be aggressive with the bull, to be ready to cast some good spell. I just made a small mistake. I was just outside of 18. I forgot that I really wanted to cast Rot Within, and here I was just outside of 18. I could have been slightly more to the right and be within 18 of them, just to be able to start casting Rot Within from turn 1. So I was not too happy about that, but the rest, I think that was quite okay. In the magic, since I don't have Rot Within, I don't have a lot to do, so I use 4 dice to do 2d6 strength 4 to kill this chaff, and I one-shot it, so I was really happy about that. Then I cast a Pentagram of Pain, just kill 1 guy in this unit, starting to do some damage, and the tank did 2 wounds to the Shapti on the left. His turn 2, No charges, but 2 Scorpion. Yes, no charges, obviously, yeah. 2 Scorpion came on the board. First one to chaff the tank, and the second one, he wanted to start with that one in front of the tank, but then moved like 12, so he wasn't able to move back to the tank, so he used the second Scorpion to chaff the tank. So one in front of the tank, and that's pretty smart because I didn't reform with them in a good way, so the only 2 units that can charge the tank are the tank and him, and both units cannot flee afterwards. So that's a bit of a trap, and I don't like that much, but I still have to take care of the chaff. So that was quite well played for him. I should have been able to get an angle with them on the Scorpion, I guess. And second unit is also very well placed because I cannot move around to score easily, to be within 6. If I charge with them, I will be outside of 6. So very good placement of both Scorpion coming on board. And here, as you can see, is still making sure the only charge is giving me is like a 7 or 8 rerollable with them, plus an easy charge for them, so together against them. But basically it would mean most likely steadfast, counter charge from Pharaoh, and then me dying. So obviously that's a trap that I will not fall in. In the magic phase, he put -1 strength basically on my incarnate, and that was it. Since I didn't want to charge with them, I was not too concerned about that spell. My turn 2. Obviously I need to clean the chaff, and to be completely frank with you, I forgot that I had to overrun with the tank. This is not a nightmare, but I could have chaffed better with this unit, because basically at the moment it could just charge me and then overrun likely into the tank. At the beginning of the combat I thought, yeah, if I reform I'm far away, that was good, but I would just have chaffed slightly better just to avoid that. But yeah, that's my mistake. And then on the right I just move back at the moment just to make sure that obviously the tank is slightly exposed, that I get some good counter charge, just ready to react but not giving him any easy charge on me. I reform that unit to go within 6 of the center. That's the only scoring that I can get. The good thing for me, this unit is too far away and that one can contest, so this turn we'll get both one unit within 6. Here I charge the chaff and I charge the chaff, obviously. I decided to give the back to the skeleton cav and move my BSB to get the bodyguard. Yeah, the idea was pretty logic for me, is basically you have no chaff anymore on this part of the board since I cleaned the chaff. So you have 2 ways. Either you let me next turn get a charge with the anointed and BSB, or you have to charge me in the back to pin me down 1 turn. But basically giving him the choice. If you want to go around and play, fine, do it, but then my anointed are free to do what they want. So I wanted to give him that choice. And yeah, here just activating the first Relentless to march to chaff here. In the magic phase I got an hereditary. I put it on that unit. I think that was a mistake, should have put it on that unit rather. And then in combat I killed that scorpion, and I was forced to overrun, and I ended up here with an overrun of 6. Yeah, I think per se the overrun of the tank is not a problem, because it will create a lot of things on the right part of the board and it forces him to take charges, and it's still far away from the center. So I'm not too concerned about this overrun. I think it's not too bad per se, but it's more the fact that I should have should have chaffed better this unit due to this overrun. His turn 3, he takes some charges. Pharaoh plus Shapti onto the tank, and obviously Shapti onto Vassal with an overrun onto my tank. I cannot do anything to avoid that. Here he appears with a third Scorpion, so he just anticipating the fact that if he doesn't one-shot me, I could get some juicy counter charge with both Incarnate on one side and them most likely on the flank of the Shapti, which would be problematic for him. So that's why he used the Scorpion to chaff me, which leaves him with no choice than charging me to block the anointed, because he has no chaff anymore. So he uses them to charge and block me in the back, force me to take a bodyguard. He charges well with the big boss onto my Infernal Warrior. I fled. Then he passes the redirect on a 7, I guess, and try a long charge, 10 or 11 onto my bull, but fail. Obviously I wouldn't have liked to be pinned down by the big boss, but at the same time the failed charge is good for me because it's opening a flank for this unit, so I think I could live with that risk that I've taken. Yeah, that's it. In the magic phase, he puts a binding scroll +1, -1 strength. So basically I wanted to avoid that my tank gets one shot if I can avoid it, but yeah, that's still a lot of Shapti striking at me. He get +2 weapon skill on the Shapti on the right. With 2 dice against 2, he got a low roll, so I tried to dispel it, but I was a bit greedy maybe. I think it was a 6, I tried with 2 dice, and yeah, he get that off. Then he got as well reroll to wound against my tank, and then he was also able to get a 5-up ward save onto the skeleton cavalry unit, just to make harder for me to kill them, which was not bad. Close combat, I kill only 2 with my 9 attack. I was bodyguard, so I pass my check and I reform. Vassal get killed, just put an incendiary marker onto the unit. I lost only 2 guys, but still failed my check. Flee over the tank in the back, and then he passes the overrun onto my tank. And then the tank get exactly 1 shot. He does exactly 7 wounds that he needed to kill me. And then you need to imagine the vassal are here in the back. So basically the opportunity that he had was to overrun with the pharaoh onto the vassal to clean them and allow the Shapti to overrun on a 9 or 10 onto the incarnate. A problem was, if he does that, first of all, yeah, I need to impact with both. And then I could possibly just, if he fails, that would be very interesting for me. So he did that. Pharaoh got to my vassal, killed them, passes a check, reform, looks towards the center, and then Shapti failed the overrun on a 9. So on a 9 or 10, I guess it was a 9. Guess so. So he failed that. That was cool for me. And yeah, that's it. My turn 3. So basically I took the charge on the Scorpion. I took the charge with the infantry. I guess it was a 6 on the dice to charge the flank here, which was interesting because I'm within 6 of the center and I will block them from doing something nasty, which would be blocking the anointed next turn. Here I'm still in combat. I passed leadership march. I think there was possibly a check because of them. So I passed the march with the bull, and I just found a very good spot outside of the arc of everybody to be very close to the pharaoh, to use breast weapon, grave call, all the nasty stuff to try to deal with him. I relentless that unit to be within 6 because basically at the moment he has only that unit within 6, so I will get 2 versus 1. I will get my first point for the center, which was important for me, and also I want to be ready to chaff on next turn, maybe flee depending what he does. So I use relentless, move the mage out of the unit just to be within line of sight of pharaoh to use some damage. And yeah, for him, maybe just to mention, obviously there was the possibility to reform otherwise to be within 6 of the center, but then he wouldn't have a line of sight onto my warrior. So that was a little bit his problem. He wanted to cover this charge, so that's why he looked that way. Moving on, and I passed the march check with the incarnate, trying to move around, starting to threaten the back line a little bit. That was my idea. So moving on to the magic. Obviously use the binding scroll on my grave call to avoid the pharaoh dying to a grave call. I trying to cast a Rot Within, he dispelled that, and then I tried to put Hereditary onto the Pharaoh, but he dispelled that as well, and then I cast a 2d6 strength 4 onto the Pharaoh with the small mage, and I rolled crazy. Double 6 hits, d3 hits, a lot of wounds. He saved some of them, but I did 3 wounds total to the Pharaoh, which was really nice, because only 1 wound left. And then I used the breast weapon of the Great Bull, feeling pretty confident. I rolled quite good, doing 4 wounds. He has 5 up and then 4 up that he needs to reroll. He rolled the first save, he rolled 3 6 and a 1. I was like, oof, only 1 wound, that might be too short. I do the wound, he rolled a 5 up ward save, reroll, roll a 2, so the Pharaoh dies. And I was really happy about that, obviously, because the Pharaoh out means I'm really in a good shape, because I have a lot of threats all around him, and yeah, he doesn't see me at the moment, and I have a lot of units that are going to be free to threaten him with multiple charge, so that's nice for me. This combat, I do only 2 wounds. I guess I was winning, but he was still alive with 1 wound. Not too bad. And here I kill enough to just make him crumble on the resolution of combat. And I reform. Here I do like 5 wounds. He loses another 5, I guess, with the resolution, but everything fine. And I win my first point for all the ground. His turn 4, he countercharged the back of my Infernal Warrior with Shapti, turn around the Shapti with Musician, move 6 to threaten towards the center, he uses them to chaff me towards the flank just to make sure that I have no way of coming closer to the bunker, and then here we're still in combat. In the magic phase, he put reroll to hit on the Shapti here. Yeah, basically, I think I have no chance of surviving this combat. I don't really bother the Infernal Warrior fleeing or getting killed. What I want is just a couple of models surviving, because I like the fact that he has to take restraint check with no BSB, but I don't care if he do a lot or a bit less. I still think I will be in auto break. So I let reroll to hit, I let -2 weapon skill, and I dispel the ward save just to make sure on the next round I can be scary in combat, and he has no way to take all my high strength hits. Here I kill the Scorpion Reform, and here basically it was interesting. He killed a lot of me. I have like 7 guys left. At the end of combat, I'm in auto break. He make me flee in that way, so I flee. He tried to restrain with both. He failed with the skeleton and passes with the Shapti. And that was nice, because the skeleton, if they passes the restrain, they could have reformed in a way to chaff my unit. And they can't, because they failed. So that was really nice. So my guy flee over the house, lose a couple of bodies. And he basically cannot really turn around, because you need to imagine the fact that I had less bodies left, meaning he need to nudge toward the other unit. There was more than 1 hinge, so he need to keep the hinge. So he cannot just turn around a little bit, try to pursue me, but didn't catch me. So that was nice. And the Shapti, in addition to that, they cannot reform in a good way because they are so close to the skeleton. So it's either they stay that way and they look toward the house, which is stupid because then next turn he cannot charge me. So I can just charge skeleton and he's just block and can't do anything nice. So we reform too wide, looking towards the south part of the board to be ready if I charge skeleton just to counter charge me. My turn 4. I took the charge with the anointed onto the Shaptis, and just basically because of the position he will not be able to countercharge me, so that was really nice for me. I passed the march check with the ball to block him doing any good reform with the Shapti, and at the same time be able to threaten the bunker, so that was really nice spot. And I try a lot of different chaffing for these Shaptis, but the only solution I found was to be outside of the center. I didn't like that much, because that would mean he would get 1 point for the center most likely at the end of this turn, but I had no way of chaffing him being within 6 and avoiding overrun because of the base of the anointed. If I chaff more that way, he would be able to get an overrun onto them. So the only way I could chaff in a good way was that. So it will be a 1-to-1 to the center, so I need to bring additional forces because he still has 2 scoring units at the moment. Incarnate took the chaff, and these guys just move forwards. I should have moved slightly more forward to be ready, then to move 12 towards the center and do some stuff. So I could have moved slightly more with them, because most likely I will not charge this unit, so I should have moved like 12 to ended up more like here. That would have been better, I guess. I think I have a couple of inch more that I can do. And yeah, small mage is still hiding behind this unit. Yeah, I think also the idea was to threaten him. If he just reform, I could still threaten with a triple charge, depending of what I want to do. So I wanted to keep my option open, but I think could have just moved forward with them. Just, yeah, would have been better. They didn't rally, continue to flee. In the magic phase, cast Rot Within on this Shapti just to prepare what could be coming next. Then I cast a boosted hereditary on them, which went off, meaning his weapon skill 1. So that was nice because I will be eating and wounding on 2+, which is always nice things to have. And then I put 4 dice to do Flaming Sword on them, but he dispelled that, obviously, also with 4 dice. And then close combat, I did 6 wounds to him, he did 4 to me. So he loses another 2 wounds due to combat resolution. Here I just kill him and reform looking towards the center. His turn 5, he charges the chaff with Shapti. Here we see in combat. The boss cannot do anything meaningful. I think he just moved back. I don't have maybe the best picture, but he moved back by 2.5. And the bunker tried to move away, but he can't do much. I would have maybe most likely just take the mage out and move 8 in the back just to avoid me getting the mage in the next turn. I think that was doable for him. In the magic phase, he gets -2 weapon skill onto them. I dispel, reroll to hit, healing these units, and then he gets reroll to wound, healing onto this unit. So he has reroll to wound, and he just diminished a little bit my offensive skill. Combat here I'm in auto break, but I still have a lot of bodies left, so he needs to take a restrain with no reroll, fail, which is really nice for me. So he pursue, gets me, but the nice thing is he will do anything. His game is over with this unit, so that's nice for me. I can just focus on the center, and here I win by a little bit, but yeah, we still engage in combat. My turn 5. Took a couple of charges. 9 rerollable with the incarnate onto the bunker. An easy charge with the bull, like a 5 swift ride onto the flank. He has no champion, so yeah, it was basically he was forced to give me a challenge if I wouldn't have contact with the 9 rerollable of the incarnate. But luckily for me, I get it, so I will just be ready to kill that unit straight away. And here I also was lucky because I got an 11 swift ride onto the flank, so that should be the end here. In the magic, just put the ward save onto them just to avoid my BSB taking too much health point because he started to strike at my BSB. I get Flaming Sword off, and yeah, close combat, I just kill that unit, reform looking at that one, and basically on my turn 6, I will just kill that unit. So I took all the ground on turn 5 and 6, meaning I win all the ground by 3 against 1. And that's the end of the game, so he has only the big block of Shapti left. So it ended up being a 19-1 because I lost half the warrior that rallied at the end, the engine and both vassal unit. And he lost everything except the 8 Shapti, and I also took the general. So it's a 19-1. What happened? So, what I can say about the macro first, I think it was a good idea for me to split into 2 strong zones with a little bit of space between each other, because it forced him to take a choice with the Godslayer Pharaoh where he wanted to go. And that was good, and I think he made a mistake here by going to the right rather than staying more central, either in the bus of cavalry or within the skeleton bus. I avoided going into dangerous fight. If you see, I picked my fight carefully. I didn't went frontally onto the Shaptis with a unit. I took no big risk, so I was pretty happy about the approach of picking the combat. Once the Pharaoh was dead, I was in control, and yeah, that confirmed what I was thinking before the game, that it was pretty important for the match overall to kill the Pharaoh, and it was definitely the deciding factor. Playing second was a good choice. Some debatable or mistake or debatable choices. Yeah, 18 to get a roast within turn 1. I think I should have been able to achieve that. The tank, I think it wasn't a mistake to go for the charge and then the overrun. It was more, I shouldn't have forgot the overrun just to chaff better, like I said. And the anointed position, I could have on the right cover for the entrance of the Scorpion in front of the tank. I should have been a bit more forward. It played no role because I was able to get the 11 swift ride charge onto the flank of the Shapti on my turn 5. But I could have been a couple of inches closer just to help me getting an easier charge. And obviously non-rerollable leadership check cost a lot to UD at some point. The restraint check on the Shaptis in the back on turn 5 cost a little bit. The restraint check on the big block of skellies cost as well. So yeah, I was able to exploit that, and I think that was due to the fact that all my units have a lot of health point, meaning even the combat that he wins by an auto break means he will need to get a restraint or pursue me, and that was really nice. About the list, yeah, just worth mentioning that I like the fact that these vassals are really multi-purposes. They were able to get me a hold the ground point on turn 3 and then get 2 important shafts. And also liked a lot about the list the high number of threats and the mobility of some of the units, a lot of health point. I was really able to play on that strength, definitely. And then a couple of other points regarding my opponent. I think, like I said, Godslayer would have been more dangerous, especially since we are playing all the ground. I think he needs to be where the action is going to be and where I will be willing. Because if you see the deployment, yeah, we see where he's going to push. We see where am I going to push. The problem is I'm going to push for the objective. He's going to push far away from the objective. And that's the key problem. He tried to go for it. Obviously, I gave him some choice, some long charges, long overrun. He tried to go for it with the Shapti, thinking about the Shapti on the 9, I guess, on the right onto the Incarnate. But failing that overrun meant I was able to exploit spaces. I was taking these 2 overrun also with Pharaoh, plus the Shapti meant I was able to move the bull into that sweet spot and then kill the Pharaoh. So yeah, obviously, I gave him a lot of choice. He took some long charges, some long overrun, and him failing those meant I was able to exploit that and just move around and get a good win with no big risk in combat. So yeah, that was it. I think that was a good start. I was pretty happy about my game overall. I think the game plan was good, deployment as well, and then I was able to give him a lot of choice and then capitalize on the mistakes or the fail long overrun / charges. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you liked the game. My second game will be against Sylvan Elves, and you will see that soon on my channel. Bye bye.